Hey, this is Mike from the Run Testers, and in this video we are going to be talking about Shokz headphones. Now recently Shokz launched the OpenFit, a bit of a change in terms of the bone conduction headphones we've seen from Shokz previously. Now we've got a full review, a multi-tester review of that on the channel right now. Now the OpenFit is pretty similarly priced to the Shokz Openrun Pro, which we are pretty big fans of as well on the channel too. So what we thought we'd do is take you through what are the key differences between these two headphones. They're actually very kind of evenly priced, but also factor in the Shokz Openrun, which is a little bit cheaper than both these headphones, but it's worth keeping in the conversation here. So what we're going to do is take you through the key differences between these three headphones. Then we're going to get into our kind of general running thoughts on how we've got on with these two headphones, the OpenFit and the Openrun and the Openrun Pro. And then let you know, if it was our money, which of these Shokz headphones we would go for. So let's get into it. Okay, so those key differences, and the most obvious one being here is that the OpenFit are essentially ear hook style truly wireless earbuds. Now the Openrun and the Openrun Pro are neckband style headphones that are going to sit around the top of your head. Now those come in standard and mini sizes. The OpenFit only comes in one size. It's kind of one size fits all kind of approach. Now with those standard and mini options that you're getting on the Openrun and the Openrun Pro, that essentially means you'll get, for the mini version, you're getting kind of a smaller frame that kind of hugs a little bit closer to your head if you're worried about it kind of moving about. But ultimately, I think generally the standard version is going to be fine for most people. Now, other things to mention here, there is a difference in terms of the level of durability, or the durability ratings that you're getting on these headphones, particularly against moisture. Now, the Openrun actually has the strongest rating. Now, it's essentially a waterproof rating, but you know, you're not going to want to go swim with it. But in terms of the strongest protection, you're going kind of the Openrun, the Openrun Pro, and then the OpenFit. And obviously the IP rating and durability rating doesn't apply to the case on the OpenFit. Now, in terms of materials, the OpenFit is kind of silicone in terms of predominantly what that design is, and then on the Openrun and the Openrun Pro you're getting titanium, which is kind of, you know, nice and light, but also give you kind of something that's very durable and strong as well. And the idea is that it gives you that lightness, but also something that can last a long time as well too. Now in terms of that weight, they're all very light headphones. The weight of the Openrun and the Openrun Pro is very close to each other. The OpenFit is much lighter than the Openrun and the Openrun. Now, obviously, you have to factor in that you're wearing these kind of two earbuds separately. It's not an all-in-one design, but ultimately, with those two earbuds together, the weight kind of is a lot lighter, or is lighter than the Openrun and the Openrun Pro. And then the last thing to kind of mention on the design front are the controls. Now on the Openrun and the Openrun Pro, you're getting a set of physical controls. They're kind of situated similar places. You've got this kind of multi-function button on the edges of the headphones. Then you've got these other buttons here kind of tucked inside to kind of offer you the kind of ability to, you know, kind of control volume, kind of skip tracks, and also to change between the EQ modes, which we'll get into in the feature section. On the OpenFit, you're getting touchpad. So essentially, it's going to offer similar levels of control compared to the Openrun and the Open Pro. It will just be touch-sensitive controls as opposed to physical controls. So those are the key differences ultimately you really need to know about on the Shokz Openrun, Openrun Pro, and how that compares to the Shokz OpenFit. Okay, so into those key feature differences between these headphones. Now, the big one is the approach in terms of delivering that audio to your ears or towards your ears. Now, the Shokz OpenFit uses air conduction. Now, essentially what that is putting wearable speakers in close proximity to your ears to kind of deliver that sound and still keep you aware of your surroundings. The Shokz Openrun and Openrun Pro do a similar thing, but they do it using bone conduction technology. So that's essentially sending sound through vibrations up to your cheekbones, up towards your ears. Now, the premise is exactly the same across all these headphones. They just do it slightly differently. The Shokz Openrun, the Openrun Pro use bone conduction technology. The Shokz OpenFit uses air conduction. Now, in terms of the other features worth mentioning here, on the OpenFit, you're getting a later or latest version of kind of Bluetooth. So that's in terms of, you know, promising better connectivity, stability in terms of those connections with your kind of paired devices. Essentially, you're getting Bluetooth 5.2 on the Openrun, the Openrun Pro, which is pretty close in terms of the 5.3 that you're getting on the OpenFit. Now, if you like the idea of multi-point sharing, being able to kind of pair to kind of multiple devices at the same time, the Openrun, the Open Pro allow you to do that. The OpenFit doesn't support that currently. The other thing to talk about here are EQ modes. Essentially, those are the equalizers, the ability to customize how that sound comes through from these headphones. Now, on the Shokz OpenFit, you have 4 EQ modes, and you also have a custom EQ mode, which is available in the Shokz companion app. On the Openrun, the Openrun Pro, you have 2 EQ modes to choose from. You can kind of switch between them on the headphones as well too. So if you like the idea of having more control over how your kind of sound comes through or what you're listening to, the OpenFit is going to give you more control compared to the Openrun Pro. But there is some control over that with the Openrun and Openrun Pro to give you something that works, whether it's kind of for bassy music or whether it's for kind of listening to podcasts and audiobooks. The only other thing to mention here is if you want to make calls with these headphones or kind of interact with your phone smart assistant, you can do that across the range. Now, the Openrun and the Openrun Pro have dual noise cancelling microphones built in. The OpenFit also has dual noise cancelling microphones, but it's kind of an AI based in terms of delivering that kind of noise cancelling. So there's a slight promise in enhancing the kind of ability or the quality of calls on the OpenFit compared to the Openrun and the Open Pro in terms of the mic technology that is included on those headphones. Okay, and then we get into battery life. Now, in terms of the set of headphones that last the longest on a single charge, based on Shokz's own numbers, it is the Shokz Openrun Pro. Then it goes the Shokz Openrun, and then you're looking at the Shokz OpenFit in terms of battery life of a single charge. Now, in terms of charge time, it's all very similar, but the OpenFit and the Openrun Pro give you quicker charge times, and they all have kind of fast charge, quick charge technology. So if you kind of are kind of forgotten to charge and you want to go out, you have a kind of quick charge feature across these headphones. They're slightly different in terms of how they work, but ultimately they all support a type of fast charge mode. Then in terms of the charging, obviously with the Shokz OpenFit, you are dropping them back into its charging case. On the Openrun and the Openrun Pro, you've got a proprietary charging cable that you need to plug in to charge them back up.
So I've used the Openrun and the Openrun Pro for a long time now. I've used them for marathons. I've used them for lots of training. I tend to always use them if I'm doing something like parkrun, where I want to hear what's going on, and I will always use them for races when, I use them for every race basically. I never wear in-ear headphones for races just because sometimes you're not allowed to in the UK, but also I've just got so used to using them, I prefer them as well. And what I've always found about the Openrun Pros and the Openruns is that they're good for what they do. The ambient noise that you can hear, the ability to wear them comfortably, it all works really well. You take a hit when it comes to the sound. The sound isn't amazing. If I'm running around parks near where I live, where I'm not really around traffic or anything like that, and I'm just doing laps, I do tend to wear in-ear headphones because I tend to listen to podcasts and stuff like that. And with the Shokz bone conduction headphones, I find it really hard to listen to spoken word stuff, especially if it's windy. I think I'm a big fan of the Openruns and the Openrun Pros. The difference in them for me is minimal. I do think the Openrun Pros are a bit better with sound quality and build quality, but I also would say that for the price, you're getting a minimal difference in quality. So I would probably say get the Openruns over the Openrun Pros anyway. But I've always enjoyed them. I think they're solid, and for what they do, I think they're very good. And I find them to be quite comfortable to wear as well. I think they're a solid solution to running and doing races when you want to be able to hear things externally. Now, the OpenFits are an interesting one because I've been using them quite a while now. I've been using them for about 3 or 4 weeks now. And when I did the original review, it was really windy every time I went out. And what I found about them was that they're really not very good in the wind. I just couldn't hear a thing. I was listening to podcasts and I had to pause it because unless I was somewhere covered from wind, I couldn't hear a thing. And that skewed my training quite a bit when it came to testing the OpenFits out because I couldn't get a good sound out of them. Subsequently, it's not been as windy, and I've actually found the sound to be better than what you get in the bone conduction headphones from Shokz. So I am quite impressed with the sound in the OpenFits now. I like the fit of them. I think they're very comfortable to wear, very easy to put on. I like the controls of them. I would say that one thing I like about the original Open Run and Open Run Pros is that I like the button control on the side. I find it very easy to control them. I don't like the volume control on them because it's really small and it's very hard to change when you're out running. The tap controls that you get on the OpenFit, in some ways they're good because it's quite, you don't have to press anything and you just tap your ear. I do struggle sometimes to do it after a few times and it doesn't quite work. It's quite hard to find where to tap it to actually get the response you want. The other thing I don't like about the controls is that it's all based on one tap area on both of the headsets. So you can customize it, but there's not many options. So if you decide to set it up so that you can control volume on them, you lose the ability to skip tracks and things like that. So you're quite limited with the controls that you get on those. Whereas on the Openrun and Openrun Pros, there's a little bit more ability to switch between tracks and things like that. So I have really enjoyed using the OpenFit. I think it's taken me a bit of time to get used to them and to find the right circumstances to use them. The other thing I would, however, say about them is that the sound quality is better. It's louder. You can definitely hear more. But what I have found as well is that unlike the bone conduction headphones, if somebody shouts at you from the other side of the street, you can always hear them. The music is like a secondary thing that's going on in your ears, but you can always hear everything that's going around them. The Open Fits, because the sound is a bit louder and it's piped right into the front of the ears, I do find that I still can't hear stuff outside when I'm running. I was running the other day. I was in a park run and somebody shouted at me who was just a few meters away, and I didn't hear him because the music was quite loud on the OpenFits. So I do think the OpenFits lose a little bit of the point of the bone conduction headphones. They don't feel as safe to me, but they do have better sound. And when I say better sound, I'm not necessarily saying really good sound quality, but they're just louder. You can hear more when you're out on the run. Other things I like the case about them. I like the fact that they're smaller, they're easier to carry around. The case is obviously a lot easier to put in and a lot safer than if you're carrying these around, or if you are putting them in the case that you get with them, which is quite large. So I much prefer the case of the OpenFits. And like the bone conduction headphones, they work with the app as well. But you can change the settings on this. So there's an equalizer setting within the app, and you can adjust the controls and bass level and all those sorts of things. Haven't found a massive difference with it. Sound quality isn't amazing on these sorts of headphones. You can tweak it a bit, but it's not a massive difference really.
So into my running experience with these three headphones. Now, I have done plenty of running with all three of these headphones. I have raced with all three. I've done shorter distance races with the OpenFit. I've done longer distance races with the Openrun and the Openrun Pro. And what I would say firstly in terms of design, I do actually generally prefer having truly wireless earbuds, prefer having less in terms of headphone to kind of run with. But ultimately in terms of how these compare, in terms of design, fit and that secureness of fit, I would say the Openrun and the Open Pro have worked better for me. Now, I like the fact that the OpenFit are nice and light, but the Openrun and the Openrun Pro are nice and light as well too. I particularly think the Openrun Pro Mini, or the mini version of the Openrun headphones, has worked a little bit better for me in terms of just offering something a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more hugging, and you kind of forget it a little bit more when they're on as well, I think, in comparison to the standard version. The OpenFit, I've had more issues with. I've talked about it in our kind of main review video, that I haven't been absolutely satisfied with the fit. I think they're a little too light. I don't think the balance between the kind of ear kind of component and the ear hook quite works for me. And I think even a little bit of sweat, even wearing with a cap, I've not been 100% satisfied. Whereas I think with the Openrun Pro, I've had less issues in terms of design and secureness of that design. The other thing I want to talk about design are the controls. I would always go for physical controls. I just think physical controls work a lot better, particularly if you're running quicker. And that's kind of what I found in terms of my experience. I think with the touchpad style controls on the OpenFit, they're just a little bit too temperamental, and I think it's easy to kind of miss the controls and miss the sweet spot. Whereas with the physical controls on the Openrun, the Open Pro, they just work better. If you're running quicker, if you're racing with them and you need to kind of reach for them, they just work a little bit nicer. So from a design point of view, I would say kind of Openrun, Open Pro have worked better for me in general. Now, in terms of other things, in terms of sound, in terms of the kind of other features and the kind of battery life performance now in terms of sound and how these headphones sound, now how I would look at it is if you care about having something that's big, powerful, customizable, gives you the kind of sound closer to what you get from normal headphones, and that's what you're going to get from the Shokz OpenFit. And that's really down to the fact you've got that kind of custom and preset EQs or more EQ modes to kind of deal with, but ultimately you've got to kind of set those up in the companion app to kind of make the best use out of them, and you might need to play around to find the best ones for you. I think with the Shokz Openrun and the Openrun Pro, I think the sound profile was pretty similar. It's definitely more balanced, I would say, compared to the OpenFit. Maybe isn't as big, as bold, as bassy, but I do think you can get some really enjoyable sound from both of these headphones. I do think that the profile of the Openrun and the Open Pro, it's not that massively different for me, I don't think, based on my experience. So I think if you care about sound and you're wondering how they compare between the Openrun and Openrun Pro, I think the Openrun sounds as good as the Openrun Pro. In terms of those EQ moves, I don't think they drastically change the experience of what you're getting as they do when you are using those EQ modes on the OpenFit. So for me, if you care about customization in terms of that sound, having that bigger, more powerful sound, then the OpenFit going to give you that. In terms of that general awareness, I think the balance of that kind of awareness of hearing what you outside in your environment and also hearing your sound, I think maybe they are slightly better on the OpenFit, but ultimately I don't think there's a massive amount in it. I think the other thing to kind of mention here is the kind of sound leakage as well. You're going to get that here on the OpenFit as well, despite it being a different approach in terms of that kind of air conduction versus bone conduction. So that is something you're going to have to deal with. In your quiet environments, these headphones are still going to leak. But in terms of obviously that kind of awareness and that balance of awareness and what you're listening to, I think they're kind of there and thereabouts, or pretty much evenly matched, I think, in terms of that experience, based on what I've found in general with my testing. And then we, of course, have to talk about battery life. In general, I've been pretty happy with the battery life performance on all of these headphones. What I would say is that it's really important that you have those kind of fast charge modes or quick charge modes across the range. So if you forget to charge, quickly drop them on the charger or put them in the case, and then you get enough to kind of get you through an hour or two. Now what I would say is, in terms of ones that deliver the most battery life, I would say probably the Openrun Pro has, but I would caveat by saying that when you are listening to louder volumes across all of these headphones, that does affect the level of battery life you're going to enjoy. I think it's more noticeable on the OpenFit, where particularly if you're listening to kind of more power hungry EQ modes and listening at louder volumes, the battery life will drop a lot more. It's the same thing with the Openrun Pro and the Openrun, and I think when you do that, and based on my experience, the Openrun Pro and Openrun battery life doesn't massively kind of differ in terms of when you listen to louder volumes. So I'd say across the board, pretty solid battery life across the range. I think you're going to last a marathon pretty comfortably. I would say if I had to trust one for a marathon, I would probably go for the Openrun Pro, the Openrun, just to kind of keep in mind that, as I said, when you're listening to louder volumes, that does knock the battery life in a pretty noticeable way.
So outside of races, I'm really an in-ear headphone user, though in testing I run with the Openrun Pro and the new OpenFit for a decent number of hours on training and in racing. I've used the Openrun and the Pro for a bunch of different races, marathons, half marathons, or those kind of urban environments where they're kind of come into their own. Now for me, the difference between the Openrun and the Pro is minimal. I don't notice a significant improvement in the sound quality between these two things. Although you get a shade more battery life on the Openrun Pro, plus a slightly faster charge, I don't think the difference overall is significant enough to spend the extra money on them. The Openrun are also lighter and they offer better kind of waterproof durability. So between those two, I'd go Openrun over the Pro. And in both instances, I definitely recommend looking at the mini models too. They have a slightly shorter neckband. And I think even if you've got a massive head like mine, I find the fit actually slightly more comfortable than the bigger neckband. I find it a bit more secure. There's a bit less bounce. Now with these two, you're obviously sacrificing sound quality for being able to hear what's around you. That's the point of the bone conductors after all. So you don't get the top volume, the bass, the richness and the definition. But as bone conductors go, for me, I get the audio quality that I'd expect from these. And I think they're very hard to beat in terms of overall bone conductors out there. Now with the OpenFit, the sound is much, much better. It's fuller, it's more balanced, it's more nuanced. Overall, it's a bit heftier. And you've obviously got that custom EQ as well, which can help. However, that sound I don't think is still as good as you get from most in-ears, and I wasn't 100% sold on the fit either. For me, they wobble around a bit, they don't quite feel immediately comfortable, particularly on faster runs or steep downhills. And when I popped the volume up to make the most of that improved sound, it actually does the opposite. It kind of kills the awareness. They become too loud and you don't hear what's going on around. So for me, they fall into this halfway house where they're not offering the best audio, certainly not at the price, but they're also not as comfortable as the Openrun either. And really what they're doing better, you're sort of sacrificing the awareness as well. You do get a case which is handy for stashing them on runs, and you get a much bigger battery life. So you can obviously put them back in and recharge them. So they might be better for ultras if you're thinking about something. This is possibly where they could fit. They might be slightly more practical for post-run use too. My 8-year-old son absolutely loves them for using with his iPad, but I find it hard to pin down where they really excel against other headphones. Unlike the Openrun and the Openrun Pro, with that awareness, that's the thing you're buying them for. I think these lack something that they're truly outstanding at.
So my overall verdict on the OpenFits and the Openruns and Openrun Pros is that I think they are different types of headphones. I think the OpenFits, they're really competing with in-ear headphones. They have a similar level of volume, not as loud because obviously you've got the noise cancellation stuff that you would get from in-ear headphones, but they are a bit louder. They do lack a little bit of the awareness that you get from bone conduction headphones, but they're also very comfortable to wear as well. So there's some pros and cons to getting the OpenFits. I would still say that for running races, for running outdoors in traffic, I would still go for the bone conduction Openruns or Openrun Pros. I'm going to go for the Openruns because I don't think the difference that you get in the Pro is that much different. But I'd still prefer to wear these. I think find them a little bit more comfortable on the head. I like the more ambient sound that you get from them, and I like the controls on them as well. So I'd still stick with Shokz Openruns over the OpenFits. But I think the OpenFits, they have got a part to play in if you're out running. I think they're actually going to replace in-ear headphones as opposed to being a race ambient aware option or traffic safety option. I don't think they're as safe as the Openruns or Openrun Pros. Big downside for me is the price though. They are very expensive, and I definitely, if I was looking for a pair of headphones that gave me some ambient awareness and didn't go in my ears, I would still go for the Openruns because they're significantly cheaper than the OpenFits. But other than that, I do think they're different headphones really for different types of people. They're not really comparable in the same way that like the Openrun and the Openrun Pro is. There's probably a different use case for the OpenFits, and I think they've done a good job with it. You just have to be sure why you're going to get them, and they're not really a replacement for the Shokz Openruns and Openrun Pros.
So my verdict then, if what you're after is that situational awareness on your runs where you can still hear the world around, you get a good disappearing fit, lightweight, open ears, the Openrun are your best bet. They offer, for me, the most bang for buck. On the other hand, if you want something with a bit more versatility, something that works better across running, commuting or office use, and something that needs less charging, then the OpenFit might be a better bet. They just look a bit more normal. However, there are much better in-ear alternatives that tick the boxes for those, like with hear-through modes as well, at a similar or cheaper price where you don't sacrifice fit or sound quality, and they've got much more kind of extras thrown in as well. So I find it hard to recommend the OpenFit over things like the Jabra Elite 4 Active or the Nothing Ear 2, those kind of headphones. If I had to choose one set of the Openrun, the Pro and the OpenFit, it would be the Openrun all day long.
Okay, so my verdict on whether I would go for the OpenFit, the Openrun Pro or the Openrun. Now, I look at, when I look at a pair of headphones, they have to tick a few boxes for me. They have to be comfortable to wear and comfortable to wear for long periods when it gets sweaty. Are they secure in terms of that design as well? Do they sound good? I do care about sound. They are running headphones at the end of the day and I want them to sound good as well. Are the controls easy to use, whether you're running, for long periods, whether you're running and racing? And also, is that battery life going to hold up as well too? Now, I think these headphones tick a lot of those boxes, but I think the one that's ticked the most boxes for me has probably been the Openrun. Now, I think the Openrun Pro for me, if I had to pick between the Openrun Pro and the OpenFit, I'd be going for the Openrun Pro. based on fit and design, ultimately that secureness of fit. I think the sound is good enough. I think it's very nicely balanced and works for a variety of audio as well too, and the battery life is good overall too as well. And again, I prefer the physical controls. But if I had to pick, I would say go for the Openrun. I would say go for probably the mini one if you're a bit concerned about or like the idea of having something that sits a little bit more comfortably or closer to the head. I think the sound quality on the Openrun compared to the Openrun Pro and the OpenFit maybe isn't as bold, isn't as customizable, but I think in terms of having a balance and working for a lot of different sound and audio, it does enough. The battery life is good enough, I think, as well, and you have that fast charging mode and you've got physical controls there as well too. And I think, you know, you can save yourself some money, get the Openrun. I don't think you're massively missing out on the Openrun Pro. And again, you know, the OpenFit just hasn't worked for me from a design and secureness and fit point of view. But if you care about sounds, customization of sound, that versatility of sound, that power, the OpenFit is what you want. You just have to be able to get on with the design. I would say in terms of reliability, in terms of ticking all those boxes I kind of mentioned, I would say it's the Openrun Pro. And then if I had to pick between the Openrun Pro and the Openrun, I would actually be going for the Openrun, which I think is good value for money. The sound, design, battery life, all kind of ticks the boxes for me. And I think for a lot of people, the Openrun will be absolutely fine. So yeah, that is my verdict. If I had to pick between these three headphones, I would be going for the Shokz Openrun. Okay, so there you have it. That is our video on how the Shokz OpenFit compares to the Openrun Pro and the Openrun. Hopefully you found the video useful and it's helped to maybe give you a bit more information in terms of which one would work better for you. Now, if you've got any questions about this video, let us know in the comments. As always, like and subscribe, and we'll see you for the next Run Testers video.